Why does this PlayStation still exist? For some reason, Sony just started selling the PS4 again, but not the PS4 Pro, the PS4 Slim, and its price is higher than when it was the latest console generation. Towards the end of 2022, these Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 bundles appeared on the PlayStation Store, but for $340, the price seems steep. And the real reason why these consoles are still on the market may shock and surprise you, because it may not be what you first expected. So at this current moment in time, you can pick up a PS4 Slim for like around $120 used. So as soon as I break this seal, boom. We've literally lost like more than 50% of what I paid for this thing. Now, these are the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 bundles. So of course, there's a little bit of an increase in terms of the pricing because you get a game included in that, but you can still purchase just a regular PS4 Slim without the game, but it's still pretty much more expensive than it should be for that type of price. Right, let's do this. Oh, that was not too bad. Usually when you try and open these PS4 boxes, because of these silly tabs, they just tear and you have an absolute nightmare. But we're all right. Right, let's get this bad boy open. I actually tried to purchase a PS4 brand new in the middle of summer last year, but nowhere was selling them. So I had to buy them all used, which is why we've got them like sort of Days of Play special editions, and not in the best nick. They're all a bit scratched and stuff. But then suddenly out of nowhere, Sony were like, you know what, let's start making PS4s again. Right, let's do this. Nice. Just a standard black PS4. There's not too much excitement to go crazy about this console. But what I can't really figure out is, why the PS4 Slim? Why not like a PS4 Pro? For that price point, at least give us something that's sort of half decent for playing games in 4K. It just seems so bizarre. Now, you may first assume that the reason why they're selling off these PS4 consoles is because they're much older production units that they're trying to get rid of. But when you actually inspect the serial code on the back of them, these were manufactured at the end of 2022. So they actually made them. It's not like it was old stock in the warehouse that they're selling off. They actually went out and made a brand new batch of PS4s, which is why it's so crazy. Now, one thing that I am pretty pleased about spending this much on a brand new PS4 is the fact that I do get a brand new PS4 controller. It's not going to have any stick drift issues, and also the thumbsticks aren't going to be worn down, because on this console generation, the PS4 thumbsticks were so easy to wear down. If anyone played this console for an extended duration, these things just wore down so fast. So whenever you buy them used, the controllers are always in pretty poor condition. But one thing that is never in poor condition is the atrocious party chat headset that no one ever uses. Now, it's dead easy to forget that the PS4 would come with these awful party chat systems. It's just a little single headphone. It used to cost them like 5p to make these bad boys that you would throw in your ear. And I remember as a kid, it still doesn't fit very well, but when I was like 12 years old with my PS4, I couldn't ever get it in my ear, my little tiny ear, and it was so uncomfortable. The Xbox headsets are way better that were included back in the day on the Xbox One, but unfortunately, neither console actually includes a chat headset at all. Right, so let's go and get this bad boy set up, because there's one game in particular that's echoing in my head. Can you hear that music? Although I often get accused of being an Xbox fanboy on this channel, I'm not afraid to admit that the PS4 was 1,000 times better than the Xbox One. It had such a large variety of games. The games were incredible on the PS4, plus the ones that were multi-platform actually performed better 99% of the time on the PS4, which means as a console in its entirety, it's aged with grace so much better. You can go back and play the PS4 and actually enjoy playing some titles at even 1080p 60 FPS, and sometimes forget that you're even on a last generation console because you're so consumed in having so much fun. For me, The Last of Us was probably one of the most iconic games of the PS4 generation, and you may think that I'm sounding a little bit crazy because it was released on the PS3, and that's the exact reason why. Because it was on the PlayStation 3, we had like an apples to apples comparison of how much better was the PlayStation 4 with the remastered version, with the full 1080p, the higher frame rates, the better textures overall, and some improved sort of mechanics in the game. And having that comparison when I was like 14, I could actually see the difference of this game that I already had incredibly high expectations for from the PS3, and they just went a whole nother level when I was playing it on my new generation console. And that was the first time I had a fair comparison to actually make on a game. And actually going back and playing the PlayStation 4 all of these years later, and especially having experienced The Last of Us once again, but this time on the PS5, and a ton of other games. Sony love remastering things. Obviously, Uncharted 4 was probably one of the best games of the PS4 generation in 2016 when that came out. Then we've been able to play that in multiple different variations, both on the PS4 Pro, and then also remastered again on the PS5 with the new Uncharted collection. Plus, I've not only played it on the PS5, I've also played it on my PC in 8K, which was a phenomenal experience. But still, going back and playing on probably the worst hardware out of all of those things I've just listed, it still is absolutely exceptional. And this console's truly aged absolutely brilliantly. And that's because of both its great optimization with its hardware for being able to output at very high resolutions, i.e. around that sort of 1080p area, and still hitting a solid FPS, either a solid 30 FPS, or in some games we're lucky enough to sort of get up to that 60 FPS, which is something that the Xbox One just didn't achieve. It hardly had any games at 900p. Most of them were like 720p or something awful. And then they were lucky to even be scraping 30 FPS. So going back and playing that console it's just a rubbish experience, and it sort of tarnishes how you remember your late teens and early teenager years of gaming. And I would say to anybody who's watching this video, if you can pick yourself up a used PlayStation 4 for the price of around sort of that $150-ish mark that they're going for used in a half-decent condition, even some of that includes a bunch of games, you'll be able to create one of the best budget gaming setups ever. And you'll have a phenomenal amount, like a huge catalog of games that you can play through, because obviously this console still has a disc drive, unlike some of the newer generation consoles. You can go out and buy a bunch of used discs, some used stuff on eBay, and just play through some amazing PlayStation exclusives, some past generation titles like some Assassin's Creeds and things, and not really outlay too much money to experience all these games. And then in addition to this, you don't need to then upgrade anything in your setup. The biggest problem with buying a new generation console is the fact you then need to upgrade your monitor either to 1440p or 4K, HDMI 2.1 to sort of truly appreciate the improvement. So you have this other commitment that you have to make as well as buying the console. Whereas with this, you can just use the television you've got, playing full HD, and just enjoy the games and play through some incredible titles. And that's what revisiting this PlayStation 4 has done for me. It made me sort of appreciate almost the simplicity of gaming. You don't need a super crazy monitor, you don't need some super fancy controllers. All you need is a well-optimized game and a really good storyline. And on the topic of the controllers, going back to playing the PS4, as much as I love the PS4 controller with the touchpad and everything, the triggers felt so weird because I'm so used to the DualSense on the PS5 that has that adaptive trigger technology that feels absolutely incredible when you're like shooting different weapons and pulling bows back and stuff. It's an amazing immersion. Going back to the PS4 that doesn't have that, it's just like a standard trigger with a bit of force feedback on there. It felt so weird and like it was broken or like cheap or something, like because I'm so used to that newer technology and features on the PS5. But now let's finally answer the question as to why does this PS4 actually exist? I don't think you're going to like the answer. So purchasing this PS4 would set you back $340, but if you wanted to upgrade to a PS5 instead, this would be $499, which is a huge and significant difference. And if these were the only two consoles that Sony had to offer, then you would most likely probably buy a PS4 because you either don't have a 4K display or a 1440p display to get the most out of this huge PS5 anyways. But this is where Sony starts to manipulate your mind. Because you see, these aren't the only consoles that Sony sells. You could get yourself a digital edition PS5 that slots right in between these two and would cost you $399, which is only $60 more than the PS4. So suddenly the PS5 begins to look like quite an attractive offer because this is old hardware, and for just £60 more, I could get myself the next generation console, even if you don't have a 4K display. And this is where Sony starts to get pretty naughty because they are tricking you into purchasing this PS5 digital console, and there's a huge problem with that. You see, both of these consoles have got a disc drive, which allows you to purchase secondhand games for significantly cheaper. You know, you can pick up some titles for about $25 on Amazon for the PS5, but they're still $70 on the PlayStation Store. So although this console appears to be great value slotted in the middle, you then lose loads and loads of money having to purchase digital-only games off the PlayStation Store, and having to wait for a sale can take quite a lengthy amount of time, especially on the newer titles. So that slight £60 upgrade to a new generation console didn't seem that much, but after a couple weeks of owning it, man, you will have lost a fortune. And I think the real reason why this PS4 exists, sure, they've probably got some components that they're using up, so they thought they'd do one last batch, but also, now that the stocking issue is being resolved with both of the PS5s, the digital and also the discs, it sort of is encouraging more and more people to upgrade to the next generation, because this looks like terrible value compared to this middle tier console, and then obviously you've got the higher one here with the disc drive. And this isn't a dig at Sony for sort of messing with your head and sort of manipulating on the price sort of thing. Every single company does this, especially Apple. So you go and purchase a regular iPad that would do the job, like the lowest range one for about £400, and then you upgrade upgrade the storage on it slightly because like 64 gigabytes isn't enough. So you think, oh, I may as well buy an iPad Air because it's only like an extra 80 pounds or something. And then you upgrade the storage on your iPad Air and you're like, oh, I may as well buy an iPad Pro. And suddenly you go from spending 400 pounds to like 1,000 pounds on an 11-inch iPad Pro or something mad like that. It's just a standard psychological thing that all companies do. They offer 3 different tiers, and they have the higher offer tier, the lower offer tier, and that's to encourage you to purchase the middle option, which is the digital console in this instance, because Sony make the most money off of that one with the PS Store. If you want to see me purchase and test some of the rarest and coolest PlayStations ever made, you should definitely check out this video next, because it's quite a good one.